Welcome to an RPG in a Box Basics video tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about the management screen. I'm going to start by talking about what the management screen is, where you can find the settings for it in the software, and some things to know about it, and then we'll talk about how to customize it. So first of all, what is the management screen? So the management screen is what opens when you click this satchel or backpack icon in the top right corner of a game in RPG in a Box. So by default, every project made with RPG in a Box starts with the management screen enabled. So if you click this satchel icon, what will happen is you'll get an overlay on the screen. It sort of darkens the game world, as it were, and shows you a set of widgets. In this case, you'd have your inventory, which you can toggle by clicking the secondary satchel that appears here. This shows the player's assigned inventory. And then the sword icon shows the equipment panel, so you can equip things, swords, that sort of thing. And then this is the quest journal, so this would show the quest log and everything like that. And then you'd click the cross here to close the management screen, and you'd be back in the game. Okay, so that's the management screen. So where are the settings for those in the software? So here we are back in RPG in a Box. So if you want to edit the management screen, you'll go to the UI editor, and it's here where it says screens. So you'll click this and you'll see those same icons that we were looking at earlier, the satchel, the sword icon, and the quest journal. And you can see a preview of, for example, the inventory widget. This isn't where you would actually create the inventory widget. That's done in the widgets panel, and you'd create your widgets here. This is just to give you a preview of what the management screen would look like if it was being used in game. So you can see the icons along the top, the close button in the top right hand corner, and then a sort of example of a widget being opened in the center of the screen. These are the settings that allow you to customize the management screen, which we'll get to in a second. Before we get to that though, let's talk about the fact that you can actually turn the management screen off if you just don't want to use it. To do that, you'll go to the game configuration panel. Make sure you're in the user interface section. So you typically start in general. So click the user interface section and then look for the management screen option. Turn that off, click OK. And then when you go into game now, you'll notice there's no satchel icon. So we can't click anything to open our inventory. You would have to use keyboard shortcuts or a scripted command like show inventory. So if I press I, for example, which is bound to my inventory, it will bring up the inventory. Notice how when it brings up the inventory, it doesn't fade the screen out. Again, because we've disabled the management screen, it's not putting an overlay on the screen. Now that can present itself with some issues. So let's talk about this for a moment. Let's walk over here. If we go over to this chest here, which I've made into a container, and we interact with it, we get the contents of the container. So in this case, a hammer and 2 shovels. Okay. Now, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to have your inventory appear at the same time as well, but that's not happening. So I now have to press I separately to bring up my inventory if I want to take, for example, the shovel and the hammer. And then I have to close them separately when I'm done. Okay, so it's a little tedious if you're not using the management screen. Let me show you what happens if you have the management screen on. So if we go to game configuration and we turn this back on and use the chest now, you can see that it fades the screen and it brings up both automatically. So we can put the shovel in our inventory, and then as soon as I close this, it will close both the container and the inventory. So it's just a little bit more streamlined if you use the management screen. But I appreciate that you might want to sort of customize the management screen a bit more. So let me talk a little bit about the things you can do when it comes to customizing the management screen. So first of all, let's talk about the fact that you could get the same effect of having no management screen, but while still using the management screen. So therefore you get the benefits of when you use a container, you get your inventory popping up straight away, and you can close both at the same time. Obviously, it goes without saying that you can do exactly what I'm about to show you with scripts as well, if you did want to just completely turn the management screen off. But I mention this just so that you are aware that if you do disable the management screen, you are going to have to start scripting these things, because when you turn the management screen off, it doesn't connect the containers naturally to your inventory. You kind of have to do that manually, either by opening your inventory manually or scripting it so that containers will also open your inventory at the same time as they open their own contents, if you know what I mean. And vice versa, when you close a container, it should then also hide your inventory. Another way to get around doing that, though, is to use the management screen, but use it in a different way. Okay, so let me give you an idea. So if we go to the UI editor, we go to the management screen, what we can do is we can turn all of these off. Okay, we don't need to see those because we're not actually going to be really using the management screen. We're turning everything off. Okay, that's done. So we can leave that as it is. And then what you can do is you can make a script in your startup. So add a line to your startup script. So let me just find that. It's initialization on this project. So once we've loaded the map, we can then run an extra command, which is hide underscore toolbar. And that will actually hide. In fact, let me show you in game before I do that. So we won't do it in startup. I'll do it in game just so you can see what it does. So here we are back in game. So if I click the satchel icon now, all you get is the inventory, because by default that's always open. If we close that and click it again, you'll see we get nothing. Okay, because not only is the inventory now no longer open like it always starts when you start again, but also you can see the icons have gone. So we can't now open the inventory again using any of the buttons. We would have to use the hotkey. So if I close this and then press I, it actually doesn't even bring up the inventory. So that's good to know. So you'd have to do that via a scripted command. So let's show inventory. And then let's show widget new inventory. There you go. So you can get it back, but obviously you have to sort of script it a bit. But what I really wanted to show was that you can see there's no icons anymore. So we can't click. It's as if we have turned off the management screen. Okay. Now the advantage to doing this though is that when I use, oh yes, sorry, I was going to show you what hide toolbar does. So if you look at the satchel over here in the top right corner, if we type hide toolbar, that's now gone. Okay, so it's almost as if we have disabled the management screen, because there's now no longer an icon there that you can click on, and even if you could click on it, there's then nothing inside the management screen that you can click on either. Okay, however, because we haven't disabled the management screen, if I now go and interact with a container, I get the benefit of the management screen, because it now brings up an empty management screen. Notice there's no icons cluttering up the screen. I can still close this when I'm done, and it will close both. And if I press E again, I get this up again, and I can, easily take these and then press I, for example, and close both the container and the inventory. Okay, so let me just restart the game. So if we hide the toolbar, let's say the game started like this. So in your startup script, you hit the toolbar. Okay, there's now no way for the player to be able to bring up the inventory without pressing the I key. Okay, and as soon as they press the I key, up comes the inventory, and just the inventory. There's nothing else on screen. They can interact with this and everything like that. And then when they're done, press I again to close it. And every time they press I, that will be on the screen. Okay, because they're not using any of the. So you might want to sort of not have a close button if you want to use this method, because obviously if we close this, then we're going to have the problem where when you press I, you can't see it, because while it brings up the management screen, it's not bringing up the main widget. So if you are going to use this approach of still using the management screen, but just turning off all the icons, you might want to remove the close button on your widget so that you can't accidentally close it separately from the management screen. But the point being now is that you wouldn't know, let's run the height toolbar again, you wouldn't know that there's a management screen because you can't see the icon that you can click on, and to all intents and purposes it's not there. When you press I, you get your inventory, press I again, it's gone, there's nothing to see, okay? But the benefit is because it's still enabled, when you interact with a container, you will get both inventory and container. Therefore, you can easily drag and drop between them and then either press I or click this close button and you're back again. I noticed that every now and then it does bring the toolbar back. So you might want to make it so that whenever you close a container and open a container, that sort of thing, you are hiding the toolbar all the time. That's probably just a bug that needs fixing, because obviously if you're hiding the toolbar, it should remain hidden. But so that's if you want to not use the management screen. Obviously, if you don't want that sort of dimmed overlay on the screen, if you don't want that effect at all, then obviously the best thing to do is to go into game configuration and turn this off and not use it at all. But obviously just understand that if you are going to disable the management screen, then containers aren't going to automatically open and close your inventory. You're going to have to do that in the script of the container itself when it opens and when it closes. And obviously showing all your widgets are going to have to be done via, separate widgets or keyboard commands, that kind of thing, because obviously you're not going to be using the management screen. Now, let's also talk about the fact that you can fully customize this management screen as well. Let's say you don't want to use any of the built-in widgets, but you do want to have your own. You want to set up your own widget toolkit, basically, tool belt, whatever. So what you can do is you can disable the inbuilt ones, and then here where it says custom widgets, you can type the ID of widgets that you've made. So I've made some ahead of time. So I've got 4 here. A new inventory, which is just a sort of redesigned inventory. A new equipment, which is just a redesigned equipment widget. And then I've made one sort of example quest log that's just a bit different to the default one. And then a crafting menu, let's say, for crafting something. Okay. And I want to add those to my management screen. So you need the ID. So when you go to the widget properties, it's this text here. So we need craft qlog new underscore eqpt and new underscore inv. So if we go back to our screens, we can go to here where it says custom widgets and we can type new underscore inv. Then you do a comma, space, and then you type the next one. So new underscore eqpt, comma, space, and then what was it? Qlog, comma, space, and then craft. Now, obviously, it goes without saying that the order you type them in is the order they'll be in on the management screen. You don't see them in the editor, unfortunately. You'll only see these in game. So it looks like nothing's happened right now, but as soon as we go into game, you will see those. So here we are back in game. So if we click the satchel icon, now you can see, let's close that. Now you can see the 4 icons. So this is the inventory. So I can click this and toggle it. Got the new equipment, the quest log, and the crafting menu. Okay. Now you can have as many of these as can fit on the screen. So you would just keep adding them with a comma in between, just over and over again. So for example, if I copied these and pasted a duplicate set of them at the end, copied them again. So now we've got 16 basically, because it was 4 the first time, and then I pasted 8, and then I copied those 8 and I've pasted them again. So there's now 16 widgets added to this field now. We go into game, we click this, you can see we've pretty much filled we could keep going. You can genuinely keep going. We could add the original ones back, you know, the default sword and quest log back as well, and that would be over here. So you can just keep going and fill these off the screen. You can have as many as you want, but obviously, you know, try not to clutter the management screen up too much. But, you know, you see you can have as many widgets as befit your project. Now, let's talk about the icon. So obviously by default, you have every widget that you add has this cog icon. So if we go to the UI editor, and first of all, if we go to the themes tab, this is the icon that obviously opens up the management screen. So in order to be able to edit that, you need to make a copy of the main theme, because we can't edit this particular theme. So what you do is you click the duplicate theme button, give it a name. We'll just call this one editable, because this one we can edit. And then all of these options will appear, and this is how you change the look of all of the options you can see here. So changing the dialog font, this is the dialog font here, changing the size of the font color, all of that sort of stuff can be set here. We'll go over the theme editor at a later date, but specifically I wanted to show the inventory button here. Okay, so to change this, you'd click the edit button, and you can obviously change the you can obviously draw over the image if you want to change it, or you can click this button here and it will open up a browser, and you can select a PNG image from your Windows or operating system folders structure. So here we are in my RPG in a Box folder. If I go to the basics project, go to images, I've got one called chest, which I'm going to use. So we'll click chest, click OK, and that's the image. It's just a, as you can see how it looks there, it's just a screenshot of the chest object. Click OK. So that's our inventory button. So again, just to show how I did that, I went to the voxel editor, opened up the chest, and I will click this button here, capture image to file, and I zoomed out, scaled this down, and then clicked accept and gave it a name. Okay, so that's how you can create an image of your voxel models. If you want to use those for your user interface or use them for your item icons, you can do that as well. So going back to the themes, back to our editable inventory icon, I'm also going to edit the hover icon as well. So we'll click edit, we'll go to the same file, and then what we'll do with this one is we'll put a white outline around it. Doesn't have to be neat, just so has an outline to it. We click OK, you can see what it looks like. So that's when you aren't hovering over it, and then when you hover over it, it glows white. And we'll click save. So in order to save a theme, you have to click this button here. Now, in order for a theme to actually be used, you then have to click this star icon that says set the theme as default. If you don't click that, it will still use this one, so you won't see any changes. So click editable and then click the star, and make sure there's a star next to the name of your custom theme, and then it will use your custom theme. Okay, we'll cover themes at a later date. For now, I'm just introducing them because how they're related to this icon here. Okay, if we now go back to the management screen section, by default, this is how it would look. You'd have all your inventory, equipment, and quest log toolbar buttons on the screen. You obviously can't edit those because those are the built-in ones. But let's say, for example, you wanted to make your own inventory, equipment, and journal. Obviously, I've already shown how you can also add your own. So you can have more than more than three, sorry. But for now, what we'll do is we'll just replace those with our custom ones. So we just click off, off, and off on those. We can obviously also change the close button. So if I drop this down and select one that I made called close, it's just an exit sign. We can also have the hover one. And then you put your widgets that you want to have in your custom management screen in here. So we have mu inv, comma, mu underscore vqpt, and then comma qlog. Okay. And if we go to the widgets, we can set the icon for your widget down at the bottom where it says toolbar icon normal, toolbar icon hover. So you can see I've set one here called equipment for both, and it's the same one for both normal and hover. If we go to the new inventory, I've got one called backpack, again for normal and hover. And if we go to the quest log, which I'm just going to quickly rename quest journal, we've got one called journal2.png. Okay, so here we are in game. So you can see our chest icon in the top right corner. And if we hover over it, it glows white. And then if we click on it, we have our free custom icons. Close the inventory for a moment. We have our free custom icons. We have our exit button, exit sign. And then this is the backpack. So you click this and up comes your inventory, your custom inventory widget. This is the equipment. Up comes your equipment screen. And the quest journal, up comes your quest journal. And as I say, you can obviously have other ones as well. The size of these can be anything you want, but obviously try to keep them a consistent size, obviously, because if you have some that are bigger than others, it looks a bit silly. So, for example, if we go back to the management screen and we re-enable the originals, you'll see the difference in size. So you can see the difference in size to the official ones to the ones that I've edited. I will put on the screen once I know what dimensions the official ones are if you want to keep them at that size. But obviously you can have them any size you want. As you can see, they can be larger, but just keep them at a consistent size so that, you know, it fits whatever theme you're going for. And obviously you don't just have to use images from RPG in a Box. You can obviously import PNGs to create a nice management screen as you want it to look. But that's how you basically set the icons for both the buttons for the management screen itself, the exit and the opening button, but also the icons for your widgets, so that when they're assigned to your management screen, this is how they will appear along the top. So that pretty much brings us to the end of this video on the management system, management screen. Hope it's been useful. If you have any questions on the management screen, I'm sure there's not much to answer really. It is what it is. It just allows you to, you know, set up some widgets and show them on the screen. As I say, if you want to turn the management screen off, you can do so by going to Game Configuration, User Interface, and just turn that off there. But just bear in mind that that does bring with it some issues that you'll need to then overcome with scripts. Such as, for example, your inventory is not just going to naturally open like it would do if the management screen was on. But with that said, that'll wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. As I say, if you have any questions, feel free to ask on the Discord. But for now, that'll wrap up this video. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video.